The show is called Connecting Hope. I'm Will Hampton, along with Monica Greer, and this is a brand new show to TV 40, and we hope to be able to help a lot of people over the next several weeks. And we're excited to get it done, but tell me a little bit about what you hope to accomplish with Connecting Hope.
Yeah, with the Council on Alcohol and Other Drugs, we have a big group of community members that do a lot of good things, and we just want to showcase what the community is doing, what resources are out there, and what better way to do it than with this show and having audiences or having the people on the show to tell about what resources they do have.
Yeah, when you think Hamilton County, you think boats on Morse Reservoir and golf courses and great churches, great schools, a lot to live for here, and there's a lot of neat things to live here, right?
Yeah, definitely. We have a lot of assets, definitely. We've been voted best county to live in, I'm sure, several times. But we do have some problems. We have some, the reason for the show is looking at substance abuse issues and problems and just getting people help. And I'd like to give a few statistics.
Yeah, please do, yeah.
In 2019, we had 608 adult OWI misdemeanor charges. We had 105 OWI felony charges, operating while intoxicated charges, and those included 5 charges resulting in serious bodily injury or death. We had 1,245 adult possession or dealing controlled substance offenses, and we had 40 adult OWI misdemeanor charges that were Schedule 1 or 2 substances involved. And we had 32 fatal drug overdoses in 2019. To date, we've had 72 drug overdoses
in 2020.
In 2020, yes. And 21 of those have been fatal so far. So it's awful.
So there's more of a problem than people even realize.
Right.
And that's what we hope to do here on this show is exactly like the title says, Connecting Hope, Connecting Help.
Yes.
And one of the great things I think we're going to do here on this show is tell some success stories.
Yeah.
Some people who have been through the ringer, so to speak, and have come out on the other side. And now we've got a chance to introduce you to one of those guys. His name is Ben Wilson.
I guess my journey into addiction began when I was 18 years old, and I was legally prescribed a medication that was prescribed to treat some depressive symptoms and anxiety that I was struggling with my senior year of high school. So at first, I took the prescription medication as prescribed. However, what I do remember is the first time I took the medication, I remember thinking to myself, wow, this feels good. I can't wait until I can take it again. And looking back at it now, I wish I knew then what I knew now. And so that was kind of a clue that I wish I had known, but I didn't. And so over the course of several weeks, I found that I needed to take more of the medication in order to get that same effect. And as I did that, I started abusing the medication. I wasn't taking it as prescribed. And then eventually I built up a tolerance to that medication. And without even realizing what was happening to me and the changes that were going on in my brain, I just continued to do what I needed to do to maintain that high, that euphoric feeling. And eventually, I started engaging in illegal activities. I started going from doctor to doctor, trying to get different prescriptions. Eventually I went off to college. While I was in college, I was exposed to street drugs, and I experimented with street drugs. Then I started using street drugs. And so, yeah, I've used many types of illicit prescription drugs, controlled substances, you name it. Pretty much I've done it. I was probably in active addiction, 13, 15 years. And essentially I had sought treatment many different times, 13 times in 13 different years. And tried at times to get sober. However, the pain and consequences that I experienced toward the end were very severe, and ultimately I ended up with nowhere to go and homeless, and found myself in New York City. No family, no money, no place to go, no shelter, no food, nothing. And it was at that time and that experience that really made me wonder that, or made me decide that I probably need to make a decision of whether or not I want to get sober and do something with my life, or just continue what I'm doing and go to an early grave.
And welcome back to Connecting Hope. I'm your host, Will Hampton, along with Monica Greer from the Hamilton County Council on Alcohol and Other Drugs. Hey, we're into the show, and our first brand new guests of our brand new season. We have Dennis Quakenbush, the sheriff of Hamilton County, and also Josh Carey, who is the jail commander of the Hamilton County Jail. Welcome, guys. Glad to have you guys part of Connecting Hope. You like our name, Connecting Hope?
Yeah, sounds great. Thanks for having us,
Very
Will.
fitting. Thank you.
We are good to have you in, and I tell you, we talked about it in the first segment. Sheriff, I'll just address it to you. How big a problem is alcohol and drug abuse in Hamilton County?
Yeah, alcohol and drug problems are not anything new. They've been around since the beginning of time, but we've really seen an increase in the potency of the drugs and their effect on individuals and just our society in general. So the peak of the heroin deaths around 2018, 2019, is really a concern for us because people are dying on a regular basis because of the drugs that they're injecting into their body.
Yeah, and Josh, if you could share a little bit about the programming that you're providing in the jail to help those inmates when they get out.
So with the completion of our new pod, we started a program within our facility called the Tower Program. And with the Tower Program, there's three main components. There's a component for educational assistance, there's a component for mentorship, and there's also a component for cognitive behavior. So what we do is we look for individuals that meet this criteria of having a drug or alcohol problem. We place them in a specialized cell block, and it's a 12-week program that consists of 4 days a week. So they go Monday, Tuesday, off Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and they have Saturday, Sunday off. So it's theoretically like going to college 4 days a week. That helps them rehabilitate while they're in there, and they can live amongst people that understand their own problems.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's a cycle for some people. They do drugs, they get arrested, they end up in jail. They get out, they do drugs, they get arrested, they end up in jail. What you hope to do with this Tower Program is to focus, really, like you said, on the men and women who are focused on trying to move past that and get on the journey of freedom from this addiction, right?
Yes, that's essentially exactly what we're trying to do. And also, for whatever reason, someone turned to alcohol or a drug. And, we kind of call it the broken soul syndrome. So we want to try to repair that soul while they're in our facility, so that way we develop a better person when they return to society, to where they feel like they can be successful with a job, to where they can feel like they can be a successful mother or father. And it's building that confidence back into them to where they don't need to run or hide behind some type of chemical.
That's great. I really like that analogy. And you also provide some peer supports as well when they get released, correct?
That is correct. So we have a mentorship program where we have plenty of mentors to where they can keep in contact with them once they're outside our facility. We can help with job placement. We can help with housing, paying rent. So they're constantly, once they're released from the facility, in contact with their mentor, reaching out to them, asking for assistance. And we've put together enough resources within our county to try to provide almost everything we could think of for these individuals to be successful.
Sheriff, I know you and I have talked before. This is an issue, you just can't arrest yourself out of it, can you?
Right. Yeah, we again continue to see individuals come to our jail where we really felt like we could have the biggest impact on their lives. And we also recognize that this is a long-term journey. It's not something that we're going to be able to fix on our own. They have to want to help. They have to understand their need for that and really make a commitment to it. But it's going to take time, and so that's why we're trying to put tools in place not only in the jail, but like Josh mentioned, that mentoring program to carry them on into the future. Trying to connect them with services not only in our jail, but so that they can be successful when they leave.
So what if somebody is in the jail and they would like to pursue getting their high school equivalency or some type of diploma? Do you have any educational pieces within the jail?
Yes, we do. We have a really good GED program that, again, spends a lot of time with the individuals to make sure they're successful, not only to receive their GED, but also to learn those additional financial skills, balancing checkbooks, completing resumes for jobs. So we do have a really good GED section within our facility as well.
I know one thing, Sheriff, that the council does is connect a lot of different bodies, from Carmel to Fishers to Westfield to Noblesville. Do you see it kind of working as the sheriff of all of Hamilton County? How is this all connecting and working?
And it's really one of the keys to keeping our community so safe. It's just all of the interconnected resources, all of us working together, looking out for each other. The council does a great job of making sure there's not duplicated services, but everybody that needs help, if they want to and they're willing to reach out, that they have that avenue available to them. It is really one of the keys to making this county one of the safest in the nation.
Yeah, I agree. And I really appreciate the partnerships that the Council on Alcohol and Other Drugs has with the Sheriff's Department, and all of the programming that you do is amazing. And I know that you're going to grow, and it's just a great place to live. And we have a lot of resources here in the community, and a lot of people just don't know what those resources are. So that's a lot of what we're doing with Connecting Hope, trying to educate that throughout the community.
Well, thank you both for what you do. Thank you for your service. You do such great work, and you're helping a lot of people. And I know that, in a nutshell, is what you want to do, is you want to help people.
Yeah,
That's right.
Well, thanks, Monica. Thanks, Will.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
having us on.
Appreciate
All right.
it.
Sheriff
Thank you.
Quakenbush, Josh Carey, thank you both for being here on Connecting Hope. Yeah, you're an answer to a trivia question now. Who were the first guests ever on Connecting Hope? You guys. I'm not sure how good a trivia question that is, but it is what it is. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
We're going to take a break, back with more of Connecting Hope after this short timeout.
So my name is Jim Ginder, and I'm with Hamilton County Health Department. I'm the health education specialist at our office. What I'm going to do today is to show you how to deal with somebody who possibly overdosed on an opiate. So what we're going to do before we do anything is we need to make sure that the scene is safe, because I do not want to become that victim. So we have our mannequin here, so he's unresponsive. So first of all, I'm going to make sure the scene is safe. Then I'm going to come up and shake and shout, "Hey, are you okay? You're okay." He's unresponsive. I'm going to pull out my cell phone and call 911, or have somebody with me call 911. Then I'm going to put my head down by his mouth and nose, then also on his chest. And what you're doing is you are listening and you're feeling. So you don't hear anything and you don't feel the rise and fall of the chest. So you're going to take your Narcan or naloxone. I'm going to open it up. What you're going to do is you're going to take it out of the package, stick it in one of his nostrils, put it in as far as you can, push the button until the button is all the way flat with the device. Then what you're going to do is you need to flip them over. And the reason why you need to flip them over, there's a pretty good chance that they're going to start to vomit after that Narcan starts to work. It takes about 2 minutes for Narcan to work. Roll him back over if you don't see him breathing again, and give a second dose as well. Just remember, when you give Narcan, a lot of times the person will vomit. So that's the reason why I flipped them over. And also that the person can be a little combative when you wake them up. But hopefully the police will be there by the time you need to give that second dose of Narcan, or by the time that the individual starts to wake up as well too. Thank you very much for watching how to take care of someone who has possibly overdosed on an opiate. If you would like more information, you can visit our page at Hamilton County Health Department, which is www.hamiltoncounty.in.gov. Then just hit Health Department, and you can send us an email, or if you're interested in obtaining some Narcan, we can also provide you some Narcan as well too, free of charge.
Welcome back, and we just heard the story from Jim Ginder with the Health Department. He does all of our Narcan training for the county, and he does a phenomenal job. He does several other things with the county, but that's just one big piece. So
Jim does a lot of great work, and he's saving lives.
Yes.
That's really what it's about. Yeah. Again, thanks to Sheriff Quakenbush and Josh Carey for joining us in our last segment. But as we continue here on Connecting Hope, part 2 of the story of Ben Wilson.
I knew that I had to find somebody to help hold me accountable that wasn't a family member, somebody that had lived experience of addiction, had gone through that similar experiences, and who had also experienced and gone through the journey and process of recovery. There was a man that walked in, introduced himself, and he proceeded to share his journey, his story of addiction. And then as he explained what he had gone through, he went on and said how he got sober and how he did it and what his life was like today. Looking back on it, I think it was a little bit of everything. I think it was his story. I think it was the fact that there was a man standing in front of me who experienced similar things that I had experienced, and who had turned his life around and was able to look everybody, in the eyes. He was confident. He had earned the trust of his family. That man had everything that I wanted, and I wanted to know how to get those things. And so that's what I asked him to help me with, and of course to stay sober. That was the bottom line, is if I didn't stay sober, I wouldn't get anything. I wouldn't get any of that. So it was everything. It was hope. He instilled a sense of hope for me that it is possible. Staying sober is a lifelong process. It's a journey. It's something that I have to keep in my mind 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. In fact, my sobriety is more important to me than my family, than my wife. It's more important than my children. It's more important than my life in general. And I'm sure a lot of people will be shocked hearing me say that. However, let me explain. When I was in active addiction, I didn't have a relationship with my wife or my family. I didn't have a relationship with my children. I had no confidence. I had no self-esteem. I had nothing. I was homeless. I had no shelter, nothing. And so without sobriety and without putting sobriety as the most important thing in my life, if I don't maintain that sobriety, I won't have any of that anyway. Because if I relapse, chances are it'll eventually end up killing me. It'll be fatal. And so when I say that it's more important than my wife, it's more important than my family, it's not that I love sobriety more than my family or my wife or my children. It's not that. It's just, it's more important because anything I put in front of my recovery, if I put my kids in front of my recovery, if I put my family, my wife in front of my recovery, I risk losing anything I put in front of my recovery. I realized that I need to immerse myself around people who have the same problems and had experienced the same issues and who have also, been able to maintain sobriety, and be around people who are knowledgeable, insightful, people who can continue to help me for the rest of my life. And when I got sober, I only had a little bit of college. I had some college credit, but I did not have a college degree. Over the course of time, early on, just with a few months sobriety, I ended up enrolling back into school and worked on my undergrad degree. Eventually ended up graduating with my bachelor's degree, and then I applied to get into graduate school. It took some time and some effort, but eventually a university granted me admission, and I worked hard and worked on a counseling degree, ended up graduating with my master's degree, 4.0 GPA. And then I decided at that time that I wanted to get involved in teaching. Ended up pursuing a PhD, and finally in 2017 I graduated and was awarded a PhD in counselor education and supervision. Having the courage to ask for help and admit that you can't do this alone is probably the first step. If you can't ask for help, many people won't know you need help, and if you can't ask for help, that can prove fatal, and it's unfortunate. So my advice is to first, don't be afraid to ask for help. Providers today look at this as a medical disease, and it's treated from the medical model perspective, and this is not a moral failing. Individuals who have addictions and substance use disorders are not bad people trying to get good. They're sick people, they're ill, and they're trying to get well. And I think a lot of people, as a result of stigmas and just misinformation, are very fearful to admit that they have a problem and therefore scared to ask for help. If you can overcome that, ask for help, you can start that journey of recovery because it's possible.
Wrapping up the first edition of Connecting Hope, Will Hampton along with Monica Greer. Real quickly, the Hamilton County Council on Alcohol and Other Drugs. What's your focus? What's your goal?
Our focus is to help community agencies and let them have projects. We focus on prevention, law enforcement, and treatment. So anything substance abuse related in those three areas, we give grants out to community agencies.
Well, it's great work, and I know I'm really proud that we get to do this show. We're just getting started, the next 13 weeks at least. Next week, the QRT.
Yes.
What is that about?
Those are the Hamilton County Quick Response Teams. So if somebody overdoses on an opioid and they survive, we have a team of firefighter, police officer, and peer recovery specialists that go to the home and provide resources and hopefully get them into treatment.
That'll be next week right
Yep.
here on Connecting Hope. Monica, thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching. We'll see you next week on Connecting Hope.